I thank the chairperson for giving me this opportunity to speak on the policy statement made by the President 2 days ago. I hope at the end of the speech I may be able to answer many of the questions that were raised by Honourable Member Sarath Weerasekara. Though there is nothing new to be found with regard to the solving of the ethnic question which is paramount to us Tamils, I was pleasantly surprised to find that the President has quite rightly identified the maladies that have stultified progress in the economic field in Sri Lanka and the fundamental changes that need to be brought about in ourselves to grapple with the situation. Let me list them. At page 4 of the English version, he has said, I am ready to make unpopular decisions for the sake of the nation. At page 5, bottom, he has said, inflation rises during an economic crisis. The price of goods increase, employment is at risk, businesses collapse, taxes increase. It is difficult for all sections of the society to survive. However, if we endure this hardship for another 5 to 6 months, we can reach a settlement or reach a solution. At page 6 in the penultimate paragraph, he has said the future cannot be built on falsehood. At page 10, he has said, I try to cure the malady first, after which we can take further measures. We should prioritize curing the ailment. At page 11, he has said, we neglected economic reforms for the sake of narrow political agendas. The burden of loss-making government institutions was borne by the people. Even the most destitute have to bear the cost of maintaining these institutions. At page 12, he has said it is imperative to stop the practice of directing public investment for political reasons. At page 13, he has said we avoided problems and did not seek long-term solutions. We are all presently experiencing the result of that behavior. At page 13, he further says we are facing an economic crisis which is more decisive than the past conflict in the north and east. At page 18, he has said the traditional politics that we have followed so far is no longer valid. Deceptions made with lies and illusions for political gains are not suitable for the future. At page 18, he has further said change should begin from within ourselves. We all should change, and that too should be for the betterment. As politicians, we should change for the better. At page 24, he has said we all have to change our lifestyles for the sake of the nation. And finally, 12th one, at page 25, he has said it is the duty of this house to make them, that is the children and youth, inherit a free tomorrow and a free nation. Madam, all these are noble words, words emanating from a matured mind. When politicization of the civil service and administrative service took place in this country, there were warnings from concerned persons. But our politicians continue to make the mistake over and over again. The result is the present impasse. When Dr. N.M. Perera, as the Minister of Finance under the Sirimao government, was ready to take unpopular decisions in the economic front for the sake of the country, he was not allowed. At all stages, the Sinhala psyche preferred today's entertainment for tomorrow's impasse. The behavioral pattern of the 16th century Portuguese had been inculcated into the hearts of our Sinhala brethren. Kapanla, Bipanla, Sudikarapanla is their motto. Be happy today, what happens tomorrow is no concern today. If only the Tamil civil servants or Tamil-speaking higher officers from the north and east were allowed to direct affairs from our departments, the motto would have been different. Save today for tomorrow's entertainment would have been their chorus. There was a happy blend of our basic characteristics during the time of the British, but with the steady outflow of senior Tamil public servants, the attitudes among our public servants left behind changed for the worse. Our politicians saw to it that they changed. His Excellency's clarion call for fundamental changes in our perception gives us hope. But as a Tamil Member of Parliament representing the Jaffna district, I must say I am disappointed. Despite many promises, nothing substantial to ameliorate the conditions of the Tamil-speaking people of the North and East has been included in the policy statement. The promised release of Tamil political prisoners has not taken place. Except for 100 acres, the balance 3,000 acres of people's lands have not been returned to the people. 60,000 acres of state land still remain in the hands of the military. The transferring officers posted to the chief secretaryship of the provincial council nor the post of provincial health director have not taken place despite more senior officers being there in the northern province. The release of lands by the departments, though promised, has not seen the publishing of the relevant gazette notifications. Army's presence has not been curtailed. The reason seems to be an inbuilt fear and suspicion about the Tamils of the north and east in the minds of not only politicians and public officials, but even religious dignitaries like the Venerable Mahanayaka Theros. Until and unless such inbuilt suspicions are removed, this country cannot progress not only economically but socially and politically too. Many of you, my dear colleagues, and especially Sarat, my friend, may have read the open letter I addressed the Venerable Mahanayaka Theros with regard to their recent statement on the 13th Amendment. May I refer to a few statements here of what I wrote to the Venerable Mahanayaka Theros with regard to their statement regarding the 13th Amendment. It was stated in a joint letter by the Venerable Mahanayaka Theros that by granting land and police powers together with the right to administer archaeological sites and places of religious worship to the provincial councils, it would lead to separation. I inquired from the Most Venerable Mahanayaka Theros if the President grants land and police powers, whether all 9 provincial councils will ask for separation as they say. If that be so, I ask, then why not? After all, there are 20 cantons in Switzerland, and Switzerland is smaller than Sri Lanka in area. We could have a confederation like in Switzerland, allowing every province to function independently and separately subject to certain rights of the centre.
Honourable Member, you have 2 more minutes.
If the Venerable Theros thought that the provinces other than the northern and eastern provinces would not want to act independently, but that only the north and east would want to separate as they say, then it would mean that they infer that because of the north and east are Tamil-speaking areas, they would want to act independently. In other words, the Venerable Theros believe the Tamils are not satisfied being under the yoke of the Sinhalese government, central government, and therefore the north and east would want to separate as they say, and therefore they must be forcibly kept under the boot of the Sinhalese without giving any freedom to the Tamil-speaking people of the north and east to govern themselves. Was it not such thinking, I ask, that has brought economic instability to the country? How long is this country going to prepare for war against the Tamils and spend colossal amount of foreign exchange to keep the military in readiness? And what are the Sinhalese scared about at the worst? That the Tamils of the north and east would separate and form their own Tamilulam? How does it affect the Sinhalese? The Sinhalese never occupied the north and east in great numbers. The Buddhist remains in the north and east are those from during the time of the Demala Baudyos, as stated by Professor Sunil Aryaratna in his Demala Baudyo book in Sinhala. In any event, there was no Sinhala language born during the time of the Demala Baudyos. The Sinhala language came into being only in the 6th or 7th century AD. Only those who speak the Sinhala language could be identified as Sinhalese. The Mahavansa never referred to a people called Sinhalese nor to a language called Sinhala. I asked the Venerable Sirs as to whether they are worried about separation because they were aware that the Sinhalese had no legitimate rights whatsoever to control the Tamils. In other words, I pointed out they were wanting force and violence to be used on the Tamils to keep them subjugated. I asked whether that was what Buddhism had taught their reverence. I asked them whether ahimsa was not part of Dhamma. The term ahimsa is an important spiritual doctrine shared by Hinduism, Buddhism and Jainism. It literally meant non-injury and non-killing. It implied the total avoidance of harming of any kind of living creatures, not only by deeds but also by words and in thought. I asked their reverence how they could, as bhikkhus of the highest caliber and sensitivity, preach something which harms...
Honourable Member, please wind up.
Yes, just 1 more minute, madam. Preach something which harms a section of our people. After all, the Tamils of the north and east are asking for something which the international law gives them the right to claim and enjoy. Article 1 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights states, all peoples have the right of self-determination. By virtue of that right, they freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social and cultural development. Granting land and police powers to the north and east under our unitary constitution would not lead to separation under any circumstances. It would only curtail and to some extent control the nefarious activities carried out by the centre and its agents in the north and east. I asked their Venerable Sirs whether they want to perpetuate the wrongs done by the centre in the north and east by requesting the centre not to grant land and police powers to the north and east, which they are by law entitled. In conclusion, let me say here and now that the 13th Amendment can never lead to separation of any sort, since it is decentralization which is set out in the 13th Amendment and not power sharing of any nature. The 13th Amendment, coming under the unitary constitution, gives no right whatsoever to the provinces to think freely and independently. Finally, let me hope that the much maligned and hated 13th Amendment would be implemented in full, at least for the moment, until an opportunity dawns on the powers that be in Sri Lanka to grant, voluntarily or involuntarily, the right of self-determination to the Tamil-speaking people of the North and East. Thank you.
Thank you. Garu Upul Mahendra Mantrituma, ඔබතුමාට මිනිත්තු 5ක කාලයක් තියෙනවා.